15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake effect, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto, Ron, Elvis, and the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here, now your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. Really excited for tonight's episode. Happy New Year to the Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia out there. We really wanted to wish you guys a happy New Year 2025 ringing it in. And as I said on Instagram and Twitter before Christmas, hopefully 2025 brings us a nice Super Bowl 59 run. I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. I'm starting to have some of that nervous energy, a little bit of anxiety. I think that's a little bit normal for this time of year when you're invested the way that I am. And I know so many of you are as well out there in Bills Mafia. Joining me tonight, as always, riding shotgun, my co-host Adam Truck Rupsick. Check him out on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Rupsick, RUPCZYK. Holla at the crew, DT. I'm getting a little bit tight. My collar getting a little hot. I mean,
what's up?
It's about to be real in a minute.
What's up, Rob? Nickel City, how we doing? Happy New Year, everybody. 2025. Damn.
I know.
2025. We just it just keeps going up. Just keeps going up. But
that's right.
One of the reasons I like the show that we moved to the Friday, Rob, is it's good for the mental, through the week. It gives us time to digest the game and kind of reset and get excited and roll into the next week. In this case, still basically 2 weeks away from the playoffs. So, right. I'm not saying I'm ramping up, but I'm gonna give it one more week before I really get into it and get going, and we'll touch base on that tonight. But another reason a Friday gives me, okay, I'm a week and a half out of the actual playoffs starting. This week we're still chilling, and we'll go from there.
All right, sounds good. I as always, I paid the lady at the front desk, give her my Bills Mafia card. DT's responsibility is to talk me off the ledge each and every time. So, but I'm starting to freak out a little bit now. We've got a special guest tonight. Really excited about it because this guy's been running a great podcast since 2017. You guys probably already know them out there in Nickel City Crew and Bills Mafia. Nate is running a great site over at Circling The Wagons Podcast. You can check him out on, again, Buffalo Fanbase, the official Bills Mafia podcast network that we simulcast on. Holla at the crew, Nate. What's good, man? Holla at the crew, man. It's good to hook up with you, man.
Dude, I'm so psyched that you even asked me to come on, man. It's good to finally hook up with you and DT. When I joined fan base, I knew a couple of guys personally, and then the more I listen to you guys and watch you guys and the rest of it's a really chill crew, man. There's a lot of fun, informed, really entertaining guys. So I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy that you asked me to come on, and I'm excited to talk about this. I know you're nervous. I know you got some nervous energy going. I think we're gonna try to hopefully calm those nerves though a little bit with our discussion tonight, and I think we can.
All right. Well, DT has tried, and greater men than him have tried as well. So we'll see what we can accomplish tonight. Now, as we get into it, it's interesting because I wanted to get your guys' take on it, and I sent you guys show notes as well. But I'm starting to freak out just a tad bit, and the reason that I'm starting to freak out, to be honest with you, is that DT, I want this so badly. And I know that you do. I know Bills Mafia does, Nickel City Crew. I know we all want a parade. We all are in it for the same thing. But it's a situation where things are like, when you think about the playoffs, DT, the finality of the postseason is just, it brings up like a level of anxiety, a level of nervousness, a level of like, oh my God, like if we don't get it done, if we have a Houston game or if we have a Baltimore game like we did in the regular season, like it could be over. And I think that the finality of it, to me, DT, is what is starting to it's starting to get my Bills senses tingling, like kind of like Spider-Man. I'm starting to get tingly because of the fact that, not that I think we're going to lose, not that I don't think we're capable of getting to Super Bowl 59, just the fact that it's so final. It's one and done. You've got to bring your best on that day. And if you don't bring your best, you better hope that your opponent doesn't, because you could be sitting at a long off season before you could even blink, DT.
Well, this is coming kind of later than it usually does, right? The past couple of years, we've been the favorite to win that, not even to win the AFC East, to win the whole AFC, on multiple occasions. And the pressure's been there. And last year being at 6-6 and our playoffs starting, back in November, that pressure was on a lot earlier in previous years. This year, it was kind of a different vibe, like maybe a reset year, maybe a rebuild. There's not as high expectations. We come out, blow all expectations out of the water, have one of the best seasons, in franchise history. And now it comes time to survive and advance comes, and that pressure's right back. So the pressure was always coming. Even the only way it wouldn't be is if we actually had a big reset year and didn't make the playoffs, or we snuck in as a 7 seed and it was all house money, but it ain't. This is unsung favorite, the MVP behind center. The pressure will tick back up. So I do agree with you, Rob. We want it bad, but the pressure is here now. It's a little later than it used to be because we've had such high expectations. This year we were kind of chilling. Now it's time to get it going.
Yeah, when I think about it, Nate, and I know that your audience is in tune on it as well, because I've heard you speak about, the playoff and playoff atmosphere, but like it's just a situation where I look at it as, I absolutely agree with DT that the expectations going into this year were not that heightened. And I picked us to go 10-7. I'm on record with that on Nickel City Crew in our scheduled preview show. And like, it's funny because how quickly things change. And for me, it changed, Nate, when Brandon Beane went out and got Amari Cooper. When he went out and got him, I thought that there was a willingness to at least admit that, okay, everybody eats is important. It's something that, we want to, find a way to embrace, and everybody wants to do all that thing. And I kind of poo-pooed that entire thing the entire time because I missed 14 at the time so much. And I was so mad about that whole decision. But when he went out and got Amari Cooper, I thought that Brandon Beane was admitting that, we do need somebody to draw defenses away. We do need somebody to actually help out the rest of this receiver core and the tight end group. And after that point in time, man, we just started rolling, and it just, I don't know, man, the expectations changed. And I even named an episode, we had one called Recalibrate. It was time for us to like recalibrate what we were thinking about this team. Now that we look at him, Nate, it's like, man, there's no reason, there's nothing standing in the way of this team. I think we can go to Super Bowl 59. I really do.
Yeah, I think DT hit on it with the beginning of the season and the expectations of it, because I know a lot of fans, including myself, to a point where we're thinking, okay, this could be a down season for the Buffalo Bills. I know the national media definitely thought that.
Absolutely.
I was, though, with friends and on the podcast to a point, trying to convince people to say, hey, this isn't a 9-8 team. Like this has the potential to be a good team. You could look at it as one of two ways. They're definitely downgrading by losing Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and some other key veterans, or they're getting younger and better, and they're losing some of their dead weight. And not that it was completely dead weight, because there were some great times that Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs had with his team. The only problem is it wasn't towards the end of the season, and it wasn't consistent. So, you could look at it, well, they lost their number one, but maybe they gained a couple of number twos in the draft, and Shakir stepping up, stuff
Coleman.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Coleman. And so I kind of looked at it as like, hey, maybe the defense steps up, maybe, a few things happen. And like you said, the Amari Cooper trade was huge. And then the way that they've kind of conducted themselves from here on out. I mean, I just talked about it. I had Mookie Hawkins in on a Twitter space this last week. And I said, Josh seems different this season.
Mm-hmm.
And going into it, there's one of two ways he could have taken it. He could have looked at it as, well, I'm going to do whatever I do because it's worked so far, or losing Stephon Diggs, a known, proven veteran and leader on that team, saying, I have to be that guy now. It's all on my shoulders. So you can either take the load or, keep doing what you're doing. And I have a feeling like I don't know if you've heard him on other podcasts like Bustin' the Boys, where he's like, I don't really pay attention to what I eat in the off season, right? Like, it's,
Right.
and not that I'm not judging, I'm not in great shape, man, but like, I've noticed he's coming, 5-10 pounds, maybe more. It's like he's a little chubby or whatever. He loses it all in training camp. When you're 27, you can do that in a few weeks. But this year he didn't seem that way.
Yeah,
he was not. I mean, he was ready. He's ready to go. And I asked Mookie, I said, hey, is that just what it seems from the outside? Or is it, he's like, no, he's like, this is the season. He's proving people wrong. And he's always had that mentality, but he's bringing it to another level, and you've seen it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into that, because I definitely have some of the anxiety that you do, man. Like when the Bills were in the AFC Championship game, I couldn't even start to think about the Super Bowl and if they won past it, because I'm like, oh, that's awesome, they could go to the Super Bowl. Well, what if they lose it? Like, I don't even want to get to that point,
right?
It's sad, because at that time I was so not used to the Bills being good that for such a long time that I'm like, I'd rather,
you didn't know how to handle the success.
I didn't know how to handle it. I'd rather deal with the disappointment now than in a couple of weeks when they're in the Super Bowl and lose. Like, it's such a weird mentality to go through, but I think I'm finally over that now. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
That's awesome.
Scars of the drought.
The scars, I was just going to say that, DT, because it's a real thing, DT. It's a real thing.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time.
We do.
Nothing's ever when things are too good, it's too good to be true. And when things are bad, we stink. We need to level up to expectation. Where the scars of the drought have made us very unsettled, unfulfilled fans. It is what it is. But going off those points of, if anything, don't get used to the pressure not being there, because it will always be there now for the rest of 1-7's time. He has proven no matter who's on this roster, we're going to be contenders. Just like you said, he plays it different, and he plays with the chip on his shoulder, but he doesn't play with the chip on the shoulder like an Aaron Rodgers does, where, I do me, everybody's out to get me, but I'm going to keep proving that I can play. Like, this is, I do me, like nobody expects this, but like, I'm going to build this team. I'm going to will this team to victory, and I'm going to be the epicenter and nucleus of this team. And so that's the difference. And I think that's what the key factor is into, there's never not going to be pressure on this team anymore, because 1-7 has proved as long as he's taking the snap, we're contenders.
Yeah, and it's funny because we had even talked about it back in the summer, DT, leading into the season, when Tim Graham came out with that little article about how the Pagulas kind of wanted a little bit of a different Josh, and Nate kind of just spoke to it, and we had dissected that a little bit, because we were wondering, well, what does that necessarily mean? You had talked about the golden retriever that he is, and maybe he's got to step up and be a little bit more of a pit bull, be a little bit more of an actual force, a presence with 14 gone. And I think that Nate is right. He has embraced it for sure. And if you ask Mookie Hawkins, obviously he's closer to it than we are. But it was a situation where I can admit that I have seen a difference in Josh Allen. The real way that I've seen it is that he still has his handshakes with all his guys. He's still goofy before games. He's still goofy and that type of stuff like that. But I've seen more of a focus in respects to making sure that he's implementing the offense the way that it's supposed to be ran, making sure that he's holding guys accountable. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily yelling in people's faces like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady in their prime and stuff like that. That's not really Josh's style. And Mama Money's always told that that's not his style. But behind the scenes, I think that he's earning respect from the guys because of the fact that he's put in the work. He's been able to be there at the facility to make sure that everybody sees that, listen, this is important to me. It's important for us to get to our goals. Our goals are to get to the Super Bowl and obviously to win it. And I think that he's shown a little bit of level of dedication that maybe not have been there before. DT knows, Nate, you don't know, but the inside joke over here on Nickel City Crew is that the guy loves to golf. He can tell you the 100 best golf courses in America, and he can recite them. And that used to worry me a little bit, not because I didn't want Josh to have a life outside of football, but because of the fact that how plugged in are you when it's time to be plugged in? And I think that was important to show to the rest of the team and the rest of the 53 that, I've got your back. I'm just as committed as you are. I just might go about it in a different way.
Well, I think, the mentality of, I think there's a little bit of weight off their shoulders, oddly enough, going into this season, because I think that's kind of what Stephon Diggs was a little bit, especially towards the end, was that not weight around their shoulders, but like, hey, let's not piss off Steph, man. Like, that's just kind of like, I don't know if you've ever had a manager or a boss that was a little too micromanaging or a little bit too much of a
Tight
hothead, or
ass. Tight ass.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And the unselfishness of this team might be something that they're just not used to. And it's freeing. I think it frees Josh because he's not like, hey, I have to look Steph's way because or force him the ball because he's going to
Which wasn't a bad option, though. I have to always say that it wasn't a bad option to pass him the ball.
It wasn't. And if you could pass it to him 10 times a game and still win, that's fine. But when you're force feeding him and it's not working out and he's pissed off and you're losing, I think but this, it's funny. Ever since the beginning of the season, they're like, everyone eats, right? And they couldn't be more true. The Bills don't have a 1,000-yard receiver on the team, and they're the best offensive team in my lifetime, possibly. Even more so than the K-gun offense. So
they just broke the record. They have now scored more points than any Bills offense in history, including those K-gun offenses behind me. So you're absolutely right, Nate. It's interesting because that's a funny way to look at it, because I mean, I know we've talked about it throughout the offseason, DT, and we talk about weight being lifted and different things like that. Is that legit? Because I even heard it on GR this morning on Jeremy and Joe talking about, like a weight had been lifted and Josh Allen has kind of been playing a different way, and a caller called in. Do you feel the same way that Nate does? Like, have you seen the same thing in respects to a more of a free-flowing offense, a more of a free-flowing approach by Josh Allen on down? Because Deion Dawkins always talks about it. We start with Josh, and then we all follow his lead.
The sales pitch for buy-in has changed. It's the sales pitch has turned from, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this, to we're over here doing this. If you want to come get in on it, come get in. Like, we're not gonna push this down your throat. We're gonna let you see how fluent and successful in this buy-in is. And the beautiful thing about this team, I think, is everybody is on board with that. There's not a single person that needs to be sold hard.
Right.
It's the proof is in the pudding. Come over here, take a look. If you want in, come in. But just so you know, if you come in, everybody here is with it. So the sales pitch of buy-in has changed to more, not let me tell you how this works, to let me show you how this works.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Now, as we begin to transition tonight, it's interesting because when I look at it, this team, like I said at the top of the show, fellas, it's well positioned. You know what I mean? I do feel like there's a straight path to New Orleans. We talked about it a little bit last week, but I wanted to get into it with you guys tonight before we wrap up. Listen, everybody seems to be healthy. They're coming back, Nate. Terrell Bernard was just at practice the other day, so he's like one of the only guys that's still on the injury report. I know DeMar Hamlin and a few other guys were limited, but it seems like everybody's going to be healthy. When you look at the opponents, it looks like it's Denver number one, most likely. Then it's Miami, and then followed by Cincinnati, who has an outside chance. Who would you like to see and why? And the reason I'm asking the question that way, because, I mean, we look at the bracket and how it's going to work out. We'll find out a lot more after that Pittsburgh game tomorrow. With the Ravens as well, to find out who's going to be the 5 and the 3 seed, whatever the case may be. After that, it's pretty much, it's chalk, man. It's Denver, Miami, or Cincinnati, and then it's on the road to New Orleans we go. Who would you prefer to see in that 2-7 matchup, and why to come to Orchard Park? Because I've got my opinion for sure, and it's changed over the last week.
So I guess there's several different ways you can look at this. I've been kind of mulling it over for the last week or so.
Me too. Me too.
Denver's the likeliest. Obviously, their path is much easier than Cincy and Miami's. I like that matchup. I want to say that they're my favorite matchup for the fact that the Bills have faced really good defenses this season, and they're still the second highest scoring offense in the entire NFL. So I'm not worried as much about the defense. Sure, it might be, maybe they don't score 45 points that week. Maybe they score, 38 or something. I don't know. It's not that big of a deal, but I like it mostly because Denver is starting a rookie quarterback.
Okay.
A rookie quarterback that's going to be on the road in a hostile environment in a playoff game he's never been to across country. That, along with Babich and McDermott's track record for rookie quarterbacks,
Okay.
I think that this lends a lot in the favor of the Buffalo Bills, especially like you mentioned, if they're healthy on defense, which is the key. Because, and I know we'll go into this a little bit later, but I mean, I have special keys, the things that are challenges or could be challenges for the Buffalo Bills to get through to the Super Bowl and win it. And health is one of them.
Absolutely.
And right now they're the most healthy they've been since
training camp, man.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say like the 13-second game. I think when you were mentioning, you thought they might have been able to do it. It's like, yeah, the 13-second game. That's one of the reasons they were so healthy that season. But yeah, I mean, health is a key. So I like that matchup. The Dolphins, obviously, if Tua's not there, I like that matchup. It scares me a little bit. I'm a little bit more hesitant on that one because divisional opponents playing them 3 times. It was close in Buffalo when they came earlier this season.
It was.
If it wasn't for Tyler Bass's 61-yard touchdown, it might have gone in, or 61-yard field goal might have gone into overtime. So I don't love the idea of facing a divisional opponent 3 times.
Okay.
But I mean, I still feel confident. I think they would win that one. And then the Bengals, it's just like they're getting hot at the right time and they're finally healthy. Their defense is not scary whatsoever. I think the Bills can easily hang, but their offense is potent. It scares me in the fact that, you know, you think about that the Bills Rams game where they barely lost that one, right? I think that the Rams were playing on an all-world level. They're the best they've played all season, right?
Absolutely, by far.
And you just don't want that game out of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins all of a sudden against you in Buffalo. You know, when they're hitting on
Plus, we don't play them well. We've never played them well.
We haven't, but I'm still confident that we could take advantage of that win. I think if we were to play the Bengals, this is the best season to ever do so in the playoffs. So I'm confident in all 3. I do like the idea of playing a rookie quarterback, though, across country in a hostile environment in Orchard Park. I love that. I think the defense they've been doing an amazing job of getting takeaways the last few games. And I think that they would continue that streak against Bo Nix.
DT. Who is your matchup that you like the most, man? I need to know.
I'll quickly echo that. Definitely Denver coming in with a rookie quarterback that's but
they got a great defense, man. They've got a great
defense. They pride their defense on sacks. They lead the NFL in sacks. Right. What are they coming? They're coming against Josh Allen, who doesn't take sacks.
Sack avoidance.
So, so their best trait is probably not going to be existent in a game where, you know, you're going to have to cause some turnovers to win it. So I'll opposite, the rookie quarterback thing, but I don't think their defense is good, but they're not going to be good against Josh Allen. You could say that obviously about a lot of teams. Right. I'll echo the Miami Dolphins fact of we talk about roulette here a few times on the show. And, you know, if you go to the table and it's red 100 times or 15 times in a row, eventually it's going black. and Josh Allen, you know, obviously has put the beat down on the Dolphins his whole career, but this wild card week on a season where we really think we have a shot is not the one I want to have the matchup where it goes black and it's a bad game and it's off. Cincinnati has been putting these, you know, Rams-like games together the last 5 weeks to even get to this point. And the fact of the matter is, if you think you got a chance at the Super Bowl, you shouldn't be worried about anybody in the wild card weekend. So that's where I stand. I'll keep that same level. We'll go Denver, Miami, then Cincy, but confident with all 3.
Interesting. I like y'all got bravado tonight. Y'all are bringing it. Y'all again, you guys are talking me off the ledge. I picked Miami just because not only the Tua injury, but just because Tua in the cold. And that's quite frankly why. I think Sean Payton's a good coach. We saw that last year. Obviously, we aided them with 12 men on the field. So it was kind of fool's gold in that respect. But I do respect Sean Payton's acumen. He's obviously developed Bo Nix a long way. So I do agree with both of your points. And Nate, your point about taking that rookie quarterback cross country. I agree with you there. There's just something about Tua in the cold. He doesn't want to be here. And it just kind of reminds me a little bit of that San Francisco game where, again, it was clear to see after the first quarter that these motherfuckers do not feel like playing this game. Let's hurry up and score a couple touchdowns because they'll check out. And I think we'll get that same type of result against the Dolphins team from South Beach. So I'll go with you guys on that. Now, as we transition tonight, again, tonight's episode presented by 26 Shirts here on Buffalo Fanbase, the official Bills Mafia podcast network that DT and I simulcast on. Head on over to 26shirts.com for all of your latest Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, and Buffalo City themed t-shirts. Again, salute to the Godfather, Del Reed, running a great site over there. Again, remember Bills Mafia, Nickel City Crew. Portions of your proceeds will go to a family that's in need across Western New York, across the world, that needs your help. You can do way worse with your money. Head on over to 26shirts.com, support a great cause, and they've got some really cool concepts as well. Now, fellas, as we transition tonight, get ready to take my mother to the movies. We got a New Year's date, so this is an abbreviated episode. I wanted to get some thoughts from you guys, and you kind of stole my thunder, Nate, beforehand, because what are the major obstacles? We tried to talk about it a few times last week. DT and I did, Nate, on our last episode, and I labeled it Path to New Orleans. Now I'm in a different mindset where I'm just nervous. I'm looking for any landmine. What could possibly fuck this up? And like I was thinking about some of the opponents past the first round, and the number one thing that comes to mind is even before Kansas City, which we can get to in a minute, it's Baltimore, and that game perplexed me. I was on a Twitter space like you were after the last game, and I was talking to the fellas that I talked to in there, and like I was like, what happened in that damn Baltimore game? And I understand that we were hurt, and I understand that the defense was a little bit banged up, and then I know Khalil Shakir got hurt in that game as well. That was a thorough ass whooping, Nate, and I need you to explain to me what happened and tell me why it won't happen again, because Derrick Henry ran through our face. He was not stopped. Even without that 85-yard touchdown or whatever it was, he still had like 100 and something yards on the ground and like 20-something carries. He still had an efficient day. Tell me why that's not going to happen again, because they do. I will raise my hand. They do make me the most nervous. They do.
Yeah, that I agree. And it's, if you're going off past experiences, I mean, think about it. The Bills haven't beaten them with Derrick Henry, and they look terrible. That was their worst game of the season. The Bills have lost 3 games overall, and 2 of them were by 5 points and less combined. You know, think about that. It's like, so that you look at the one game where they lost handedly, and that was against the Baltimore Ravens. And I think that the way that the game played was perfect into the hands of the offense for the Ravens, because at no point could the Bills actually, make Lamar Jackson sit back there and pass the whole time, because Derrick Henry was always a factor. And if you let them get ahead like that, then it could be Derrick Henry taking the ball 60 yards. It could be Lamar Jackson. It could be the play action pass. I mean, you play perfectly into the Ravens offense. Now, why the Bills couldn't get anything done, I think you nailed part of it was the injuries. I think that was one of the games where the Bills realized we need another wide receiver to take attention, attention away from Keon Coleman and a banged up Khalil Shakir. People aren't afraid enough of Dalton Kincaid yet. Dawson Knox, Matt Collins.
Strike any fear in anybody, even though he leads the team in touchdowns, which is ironic.
I know, this is insane. Yeah, I think the Bills offense it's still gelling, man. I mean, they had one wide receiver that had been catching passes from Josh Allen before the season, and I think they're still figuring things out, and they're doing a great job. I think that the Bills offense plays a lot better against a Ravens defense that is subpar this season. I think that the Bills they just play a lot better. Their defense, it is, we mentioned health. This is the healthiest the defense has been all season. You mentioned Terrell Bernard showing up on the injury report, but I think by that time, especially if the Bills play the Ravens in the divisional round, I think he'll be ready to then. That's a huge deal. I mean, imagine losing Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard, your 2 best linebackers by far, Pro Bowl / All-Pro linebackers, and you're going up against Derrick Henry.
It was not pretty.
It was not. I mean, you have Balen Spector and Dorian, and I love Dorian Williams. He's just not Matt Milano yet. I think he's playing a great season. I think also one of the reasons that we should be more excited about the playoffs is the defensive tackle play has been much better in the last few weeks. And it was lacking a lot. I mean, I pointed at Oliver a little bit in Daquan Jones. I think his age is finally starting to show. I think that those guys are stepping up. Dwayne Carter is back. They're using Dwayne Smoot a little bit better. Austin Johnson, like those guys are making an impact. And, I think it's going to be the toughest team that the Bills would face in the playoffs, except for, obviously the Chiefs. The Chiefs would be a tough out no matter what. even if you do beat them in the regular season. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bills, I think you play that game 10 times, and that is 1 or 2 times that the Bills ever get blown out by the Ravens. I think it's very unlikely. I think it was just an off week. It was a bad game. It just didn't turn out well. I don't think that happens again. Just like if you play the Rams, I guarantee they don't beat us, like that more than like once out of 10 times. It's just unlikely.
You're saying it was the perfect storm. It was the perfect storm that night.
I think it was, but I think it was a good thing because it helped point out some issues that the Bills were having offensively and defensively. And I think that they've learned from those. And I don't think they'll fall into that same thing if they play them again. I mean, you mentioned, who do you want to play in the first round? I love what you said about Tua, because Tua is 0-8 in the cold. But man, wouldn't this be a great run for the playoffs headed to the Super Bowl? You play Joe Burrow in the first round, beat the Bengals. Play Lamar Jackson at home, beat the Ravens, and then you go to KC and beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
I know you don't know me that well, Nate, but DT can let you know that I am not about that type of energy, man. I don't care. I know you're talking about exercising all the demons, and I don't give a damn. And I think my mother's listening, so I'm trying not to cuss too much. I don't give a shit. The reason I don't care is because there's no asterisk by the Lombardi. So I don't need the hardest road possible to make myself feel better and the parade to be sweeter. I'm still going to be driving right up to Buffalo right after on Victory Monday and getting ready for the parade and beating our Buffalo Bills. I do not care at all about the hardest road, but I respect people like you, because I hear about a lot of guys like you on Twitter talking about just go through all of their faces on the way to the Lombardi. And I'm like, why would you want to do that? Like, I mean, like, it'd be cool story, but there's definitely DT. He don't know me that well, DT. I ain't signing up for that shit. No way.
I agree. And my point was there's we got 2 opportunities where we won't even, where you might even have to play the Ravens. It's very unlikely they lose this week, but they could. And then the next week, if they match up against the Steelers again, the Steelers got their number and take them down. Who knows?
How does that work? If Baltimore wins and Pittsburgh loses, then Pittsburgh goes back to Baltimore?
Pittsburgh will go to the 6. Yeah, it'll be 3-6.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and then Pittsburgh knocks them off in a divisional game, and you don't even have to worry about them. So I'm obviously rooting not to play them, but I agree, a bad game earlier in the year. And look at it from the other side. You think the Ravens are going to be pumped up to play the Bills? Yeah, we beat them, but then it's almost scarier. Like, we punched them in the mouth. We know kind of that's not going to happen again. I'm a little more scared as a Ravens fan going into this, as a Bills fan saying it's time for get back. The Ravens fans are like, we punched them. We know they're going to punch us back.
Ooh, I like that. Listen to y'all doing a good job tonight, talking me off the ledge. I like it. I like it very much. Now, as we begin to wrap up tonight, the Nickel City Crew Tailgate Report, presented and sponsored by Queen City Vintage. Head on over to Queen City Vintage. That is Queen_City_Vintage_716. Our buddy Nick over there has been running a great shop there on Elmwood, right across from 40 Thieves. We really appreciate, just shout out to Nick and his team over there, sponsoring all the giveaways this year. We've had a great, successful run with that. Shout out to our creative director, Miss Olivia Nagel, who's been really covering all the bases for us on social media and helping everything click. We really appreciate you guys. We do have some playoff giveaways as well, so we really appreciate you guys just participating and retweeting and all the other stuff and whatever the hell else you do. We really appreciate you guys engaging with us in the show. DT, Nate, you got to give us what you did last week and how you consumed the game. And then obviously, since we've got this last game coming up, we'll just go ahead and knock that out as well. Our guest, Nate, I'll let you go first. How did you consume last week's game, and what are your plans for this week? This is the Nickel City Crew Tailgate Report, sponsored by Queen City Vintage. Holla at us, man.
So I hate to say this because I'm normally much more glued to the television, but I had family in from out of town, from Wisconsin. I was, running around with cousins, nephews, nieces, and children. And I was watching as much as I could while trying to entertain at the same time.
Sure.
So and I'm thankfully the game wasn't close whatsoever. And I rewatched it later. So I didn't miss much. Thank God.
No, you didn't.
No, I was this week is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be so eeasygoing. I mean, this is going to be relaxing,
preseason.
Yeah, exactly. Preseason. I know that there's going to be a few starters playing here and there, getting some time in. So I mean, health is all I'm going to be watching there. Just make
right.
sure there's no freak injury.
That's right.
But yeah, that's how I'm going to just, taking notes and kind of watching, the other games to see what's going on with those, to see who the Bills are going to play
That's
from
right.
there on out. But luckily they can sit and, the Bills team in general will be able to sit and watch who they're going to be playing, this next weekend. Let's see, it's because they all have to play for something besides the Bills and the Chiefs. So that's kind of nice. But no, man, I real quick, before, if we don't get a chance, I know you got to take your mom out for a cool
Gladiator
movie.
2.
Gladiator 2.
Can't wait.
By the way, you got to DM me. Let me know how that is.
I can't wait.
Because I want to catch that. But 4 keys to this Super Bowl that I think you should feel more confident about.
Lay it on us.
Going into it that maybe the Bills haven't had in the past. Number 1 is injuries. I mentioned health. Bills are the healthiest they've been going into the off season or into the postseason, which is great. The Bills defense, it's been a source of issues the last
little bit leaky at the end of the year.
A little bit leaky in the postseason. I think that's something that's going to be a key to the Bills making it to the Super Bowl and winning. I think that's one of the reasons why the Bills lost in the playoffs. I think it is the most important reason why they lost to the Chiefs.
Hell yeah.
I mean, but then again, they lost 5 starters, so what do you expect? Right. And then the next thing is coaching. Coaching is going to be huge for this team. I'm more confident in that just because they've been through so much. They've only made, only a few boneheaded coaching decisions all season. I mean, really think about it. I mean, there's been a timeout here or there. Luckily, it didn't end up to biting them, but really not that bad. Not that bad. And then
I have to agree, I guess. I don't like McDermott, but I have to agree. Well, you're our guest. Well, I'll agree.
You don't have to.
I'll halfway agree.
It's your show.
Halfway agree.
And I think the last thing that, besides all the things I mentioned, is luck. I don't think enough people put enough credence into luck going into the postseason, the Super Bowl run.
Yes.
Just think about, a blocked punt going for a touchdown. That was the difference between the Bills losing that Rams game and winning it.
That's right.
Something as easy as that, as small as that, could happen for or against the Bills. So
referee luck. The ball is oblong. It bounces funny on a fumble. It's not a round basketball. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Luck is definitely in there. Absolutely.
How surprised were you when they went to that, what was it, Matt Milano fumble, and they're like, oh, upon review, it actually is a fumble. Like, the refs called it, Jets ball. You're like, I did not think that they would do that.
Absolutely.
All those things. So yeah, I mean, I'll be watching the game, fairly comfortably this weekend, but confidently. I think that it feels weird to be confident going into the postseason because, like TT said, scars of the drought, man. Like, we've all been there, we've all lived through it, and we're getting our therapy as much as we can to get through that trauma.
That's it.
Personal trauma. So I'm excited for this weekend, just relaxing and hopefully we see something out of these backups and getting a chance to get some playing time. I'm excited to see some of those guys. Yeah, like Tyrell Shavers last week. How great was that?
I was just going to say Shavers. DT, give us the report, man. How was it last week? What are you going to do this week?
Yeah, it was great. Last week I was the hostess with the mostest. Had one of my best friends, Ben, was in town. He lives out on the West Coast and grew up, was close with his whole family. Everybody wanted to come see 17. So I brokered a bunch of tickets. Shout out to
your Instagram.
Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to Ben Fennell. Shout out to all our friends that usually come to the tailgates that I was able to kind of broker tickets out of and get a big crew. And we showed up and we did it right. A little rain to start the tailgate, but nothing crazy.
Okay.
It died out. It was everybody's first time. I love people's first times. I took my mother earlier in the year to her first game.
Yep.
And it's just a fun atmosphere to be in. And we delivered a slow start to the game. Turned out to be a blowout. Everyone there had a great time. It was loud when it needed to be loud. I was doing some antics, to get the people going.
I saw you on Instagram. I saw you, man.
I was able to work some things in and show everybody a good time. So abbreviated, but a way to go. This weekend, I'm going to be chilling straight off grid for a multitude of reasons. But I'm looking forward. I want to get that 14th touchdown. That's what I'm going to be looking for on Sunday. I want that 14th player to catch a touchdown, and we're running out of actual pass catchers. So my take is it might be a little left tackle delay pass, a little big man tutty to break that record.
Ooh, I like it. I like it a lot. As we wrap up tonight, I like that. As we wrap up tonight, I mean, DT, Nate, I appreciate you joining us tonight as well, Nate. Again, check him out. Nate, again, Circling the Wagons podcast. They've got like over 25 1,000 followers on Twitter. They're blowing up. They're doing their thing. He's been doing his thing since 2017. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your night tonight. So salute to you as well, man, for sure. TGIF. DT, last week, I mean, fellas, that was slow motion. All my Kings went to Buffalo. And then my princesses went to Georgia. They're still not back. I have not had a clue what to do with myself. I've got no idea. I feel like it's like what of those guys say? It was like Ricky Bobby. Like, I don't even know what to do with my hands. Like, it's one of those situations. So I've been dolo all week, and it's been an experience. And one thing that I am sure of, once you're a dad, you may complain about the badass kids, but boy, will you miss them when they're not around. So I really have missed my babies. They'll be back tomorrow and Sunday, respectively. So I was chilling last week. I'll be chilling this week. Like Nate said, thank God the game wasn't stressful or anything like that. I didn't have to worry about any of that type of stuff. I expect the same thing. Like I said, it's more of a preseason vibe this week. I expect it to be slow motion. Keep everybody healthy is the number one thing. You're absolutely right about that, Nate. Josh Allen, I guess, fellas, going to start the game to get that streak and then get out of there, right? Yeah.
I don't know if this, obviously they don't care anything about this, but 25 yards away from his over-under prop on the year.
Oh, wow.
I love it. I love it.
Do you care, DT? Did you put money on that?
I'd like to see a 1 5-step drop.
No, if they let Josh Allen move too much, I'm going to be mad. Shotgun, handoff. You can give the James Cook, I guess, if you feel like it, but it better be quick and out, man. I want the motherfuckers out the game as soon as they check in. I mean, what was that 1 year Matt Castle started the game when it was Rex Ryan's first game, whatever, against Indy, and Tyrod Taylor was at wide receiver, so Matt Castle gets the win for that game. That's kind of what this is, man.
What about when they were going to sit against the Dolphins a few years ago, and Josh threw 4 touchdowns in the first half?
I don't want it out there. No. We were still playing for something. There was some reason he was out there. No, get him out of there. Let him start the game, hand it off, and let 17.
You want him to just take the snap and then just kneel, right?
Just kneel or hand it off. Or somebody said on GR this week, I don't even want him under center, so the center can't step on his foot. I love it, man. And DT, you were right. As we close up tonight, DT, you were right. You saw that report come out a couple weeks ago from that one dude. Tom Pelissero said Josh's left hand's been broke since week 1. We knew it. We sat right there. We watched it. We were like, man, his hand is broken. And ever since then, we were just joking around with a couple of fellas and stuff on the show about the glove and stuff like that. But we knew there was something wrong with that hand, so it was broken. So look at that. So you were right, DT. You're like an investigative reporter, man. I love it, man. Listen, I appreciate you guys and your time tonight. Listen, out there, spread love, not hate. These were my Bills thoughts said out loud. Happy New Year, Nickel City Crew. Happy New Year, Bills Mafia. Hit them with the Go Bills, Nate. Hit them with the Go Bills, DT. That's what we do.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
14-3.
I love it.